The quality of being friendly, generous, and considerate. Other words for kindness are kindliness, kind-heartedness, warm-heartedness, affection, warmth, gentleness, and concern. The word kind is used 347 times in the Bible, so obviously it's pretty darn important because that's a lot. That's a lot of times being used in a Bible. To me, kindness is every prayer that was prayed and every thought that was thought, and every card, flower, and hug that was given, and every smiling face that visited me while I was sick. Kindness is Ed inviting me to rock 4 years ago when Arden interview even knew my name. Kindness is all the donations that were given us for rock this year from you guys. Kindness is Ann and Terry coming with us and being the amazing cooks that they are. Ephesians chapter 2 verse 7 says, in order that in coming the ages he might show the incomparable riches of his grace expressed in his kindness to us in Jesus Christ. To be kinder to your neighbor is one of the biggest rules of Christianity. Smile at the person walking down the street beside you. Open the door for the lady with groceries. Push the button for the crosswalk. The Dalai Lama says that we should be kind whenever possible, and that it is always possible. Every single chance you get to be kind to someone, you should take it. It will come back to you, I promise. Kindness is being the person with the light, being the glow in the room, the person with the smile. Kindness is being the teacher that everyone looks forward to in the classroom because they know you're going to say good morning to them. Kindness is being the person that's always there to stand up for someone else beside you when they're in trouble. Kindness is being a nice person, and that's all you need to be. Thank you.
Forgiveness is a word that most people know. The root word of forgiveness is to forgive, so naturally forgiveness means the act of forgiving. If you don't know what the word forgive means, you don't get anywhere. The word forgive has 5 definitions according to the dictionary. To grant pardon for or remission of, to absolve, to give up all the claim of account of, to remit, to grant pardon to cease to feel resentment against, and to cancel the indebtedness or liability of. Normally we think of forgiving in the sense of to cease to feel resentment against. As children, we are taught that we need to forgive no matter what. This seems extremely easy, but as we get older, forgiveness becomes harder. When you were in school, you may have had a friend who betrayed you and may have had a hard time forgiving, especially if you were a close friend. Colossians 3:12-14 says, therefore, as God has chosen people, unholy and dearly loved, clothe yourselves with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Bear with each other forgiveness. Forgive one another. If any of you has grievance against someone, forgive as the Lord has forgiven you. And over all of these virtues, put on love, which brings them all together in perfect unity. God said, forgive others, as I have forgiven you. If you think about that, how many times has God needed to think about giving you forgiveness? Has he ever questioned whether he should forgive you? No, he hasn't. And writer C.S. Lewis said to be a Christian is to forgive the inexcusable because God has forgiven the inexcusable in you. No matter what the situation is, if you need to forgive someone, you just need to ask God to forgive them, the inexcusable, and not only the person needing forgiveness, but also in yourself. Thank you.
During closing campfire at 4-H camp one year, the ACI told what has become a favorite story of mine. Once upon a time, there was a wise man who used to go to the ocean to do his writing. He had a habit of walking on the beach before he began his work. One day, he was walking along the shore. As he looked down the beach, he saw a human figure moving like a dancer. He smiled to himself to think of someone who was dancing to the dead. So he began to walk faster to catch up. As he got closer, he saw that it was a young man, and the young man wasn't dancing, but instead he was reaching down to the shore, picking something up and very gently throwing it into the ocean. As he got closer, he called out, "Good morning, what are you doing?" The young man paused, looked up, and replied, "Throwing starfish in the ocean." I guess I should have asked, "Why are you throwing starfish in the ocean?" "The sun is up and the tide is going out, and if I don't throw them in, they'll die." But young man, don't you realize there are miles and miles of beach and starfish all along it? You can't possibly make a difference. The young man listened politely, bent down, picked up another starfish, and threw it into the sea, past the breaking waves, and said, "It made a difference to that one." Compassion is defined as a feeling of deep sympathy and sorrow for another who is stricken by misfortune, accompanied by the strong desire to alleviate the suffering. My favorite parable is about love and compassion, the Good Samaritan. In this story, a man is robbed and left for dead on the side of the road. Two men of stature see him lying there and continue on without giving the dying man a second glance. But then comes along a Samaritan, who were looked down upon in society. He saw the man and was so moved by the sight, he not only treated the other man's wounds, but also took him to the nearest town and paid for whatever the man needed to get back on his feet. To the Samaritan, it didn't matter who the man was, just that he was someone who was desperately in need of assistance. What the Samaritan did was compassion on a grand scale. When the mission team goes out and rebuilds homes, that is compassion. Or on Sunday morning at Rock, when an offering is taken up, and this year, all the donations were given for Northwood Apple Church, which burned down in December of 2013. That is compassion. But compassion doesn't have to be something on such a grand scale. Compassion can be listening to someone talk about the horrible day they just had, or hugging a person while they're crying, or bringing donations of canned goods for a food drive, or smiling at someone who seems to be sad. Mother Teresa once said, "I will never understand all the good a simple smile can accomplish." Everyone in this room is capable of compassion, and has most likely shown it on a few occasions. Anyone can be compassionate. It doesn't take talent or require any skill, but you have to have heart. Because if your heart isn't in it, what's the point? 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 1 and 2. "If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all the mysteries and all the knowledge, and if I have the faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing." My dad sent out an email to Emmy, Victoria, and myself that had some suggestions to help us write our messages. One of them was, "When were you kind, forgiving, or compassionate?" And I had a difficult time with that question while writing my message because we do compassionate things without realizing it. I'm sure I've done something compassionate, but my understanding of compassion is it's a selfless emotion because it's about other people and how they're feeling. In the end, I keep going back to something Reggie said at Rock, which stuck with me more than anything else. We are not on this earth to judge, we are here to love. And I think that compassion is love in action.
I'd like to ask any of the kids or adults who went to Rock if they would like to say what Rock meant for them. Just raise your hand, I'll bring you the microphone, or come up front. Either way. Anybody like to say anything? Okay. So I guess we'll move on. You go. All right, here's Sydney.
This was my second year at Rock, and both years I've had the extreme luck of hearing Reggie Dobbs speak. I heard him my first year, and I absolutely love him. He's a great speaker. The way he speaks is he tells the message through stories. So it's not just him giving you a lecture and you falling asleep. He's giving you, he's laughing with you. He's telling you stories, and I remember one of the stories actually that I was talking about this in the car. One of the stories he told was about a girl named Shannon, and she lived on a farm and she was a straight A student. She never missed a day of school. But one day she woke up late. She was rushing to get ready. She was driving to school, and she was applying her lipstick in the car, and she hit a woman on a bike. She didn't go to school that day. The next day she woke up in the hospital, and her first question was, "Is that woman okay?" Her dad told her the woman had died. And that the woman's husband said that if Shannon came to their house that day, he wouldn't press charges. So Shannon got ready, she got up, she went to the man's house, and he said, my wife was a great woman. She went many places in life, and I hope you go even farther. And Reggie stopped there, and he was like, who does that? Who is a husband, then a teenage girl kills your wife, and you tell them that they hope they do better in life? And then the girl gets older, and the man, he ends up becoming Uncle Greg to her. He is there at her parents' funeral, he's there at all of her award ceremonies, he's there at her high school graduation, her college graduation, speaks at her parents' funerals, and walks her down the aisle when she's getting married. And that's just, I love that story.
Good story for you. Anybody else? Dylan wants to say something. Dylan wasn't there, but he's been to Rock.
Obviously, I didn't go this year to Rock, but I went 6 years ago, my senior year of high school. And for me, that was when Reggie, he was there. And like she said, he uses a lot of humor in his message. But then he'll get serious. And for me, that's when everything became real. Like I remember, he'd tell a story, everybody's laughing, but then he snaps and he brings up witnesses to tell their story. And then, like, it was heavy. Like there was some heavy stuff. People talking about suicide and drug addiction and stuff. And then he asked everybody, like thousands of people in the audience, if you struggle with that, with any of those type of situations, to stand up. And like there's people standing up all around me. I was like, bro, this is real. And like I just remember like thinking a lot and reflecting on it a lot. Just that's when I decided really to become a follower of Christ. And after that, I thought about it a lot, and I approached Pastor Kathy, and we officially, she prayed over me, and that's when I decided really to give my life to Christ. So it impacted me a lot. So that's my experience with Rock.
To me, Rock is learning through God and spending time with great people that you love like family. And that's what it comes down to.
Okay. Suzanne's got something. And she's never been to Rock.
I've not been to Rock, and I hope I get through this, but when we were interviewing for the Apple Harvest Queen this year, my job is always to pick something out of the girls' resumes and ask them about it. Well, the one gal who ended up being queen, just by the way the numbers fall, she works for Sweet Frog. So I thought, well, maybe I'll ask her about if she knows what FROG stands for, which is fully rely on God. And we got to talking before she came in, and I thought, well, no, I'll do something else. So I asked her about Rock. Well, she went to tears. So sure. So then we all went to tears. Then in part of it, she said, how much her faith meant to her and how much Rock impacted her. But she said she also had a teacher in 4th grade, Colleen Miller, that impacted her life. And of course, then we all went to tears again. So it was a very tearful interview, but she was great. And I just thought from another church, to have the comment about how much Rock meant to her.
Okay, Ashton.
It was my first year at Rock this year, and we were having a great time. It was Saturday night. We were listening to Reggie talk, and then he asked us to stand up. So we were all standing up. We walked to the front, and I'm standing there, and my stomach, I start feeling a little, a little nauseous. So I'm standing there, and I'm like, Ashton, I feel bad. Like, I feel like I'm going to throw up. So Ashton said there, she's like, oh, you'll be fine. You'll be okay. Everything will be great. No. So I start running towards the bathroom, and Ashton yelling at people to move out of the way.
Telling people that she's gonna throw up on them. They better move.
And I just threw up everywhere. It was bad. So Rock for me, it was great, except for the fact that I threw up everywhere in front of everyone. And I got made fun of for it for the rest of Rock. It was pretty. Yeah, only one day.
Okay, so I've been going to Rock since I was 8, so 6 years. And the reason I started going is because my mom, like, chaperoned. And, she really couldn't leave me by myself. Because I probably would have burnt my house down. But anyway. Oh, shush. So I went to Rock, and the first night I fell asleep. So I fell asleep the whole Friday night service. So I can't really tell you about that. But I still remember, like, having a lot of fun. Even though I was 8, I didn't understand what was going on or what they were talking about. I still had a lot of fun. And now that I've gotten older, I'm starting to understand it more. So I can really connect with the stories. And one story that really stuck with me was one about a girl, I don't remember her name, but she was she was popular, she had everything, she had a really nice boyfriend, she had, a lot of friends, and she was really good at skiing. And her and her parents went skiing, this was from this year. Her and her parents went skiing one day, and she had somehow gotten off course, and she fell into a tree, and she was brain dead. They put her on life support. So, her parents would say goodbye, but they didn't have very much time. They were shutting the machine down in an hour. So the doctor said, you have an hour, say your goodbyes and stuff like that. And then they sit out there for 20 minutes. Her parents are talking, they're crying, and the doctor comes back in and says, I have an idea. And they said, what? He said, we need to take her off. And they said, why? He said, we had an hour, we have 40 minutes. And they're hysterically crying by this point. And the doctor says, I have a girl who needs a heart, and your daughter's a match. So they said, okay, do it. They did the surgery. And the girl that got the heart, they visited her after a few months. And the girl was still not doing well. She was still, in a hospital bed. And she probably would be for the rest of her life, but now she was alive. And they could hear her heart beating. And that's when her mom, just cried and said, that's my daughter's heart. That's her heart beating. She's still living through someone else. And that story really stuck with me because even though you lost someone, you can still make an impact for someone else. You can still be there for someone else no matter what. You saved them from going through the same thing that you went through. So I thought that was really important.
And that was compassion, wasn't it? Does anybody else have anything? Okay. All right. So we'll move on to our next part of our service, which is, let's see,